Best coaches in the game, we really ain't playing. We regroup up in the Slack chat where the coaches debrief. We be piecing these puzzles, occupy the chunk of the pie. Ain't no lie when we hit the block, helmets, casket, and tie. You be seeing helmet after helmet, helmet after helmet. First place, second place, fifth place, eighth place, 12th place, 15, 16, 20. So many helmets, you got blurred vision, we got too many. Tick your tech. Oh man, shit. They got us fucked up. Army, regroup. We pledge always to have that edge. We don't fire warning shots. Competition just dropped. We locked and loaded before lock. Whatever the time, yeah. Do you even correlate?
Being the best requires a willingness to outwork your competition. There's always someone smarter, faster, sharper, more naturally gifted to come around.
What up, everybody? It's your boy, Josh Thomas, aka DFS Up North, here with another Unplayable Lies PGA podcast where I talk about all the players that I'm playing that you probably shouldn't. Hence the term Unplayable Lies. We are at the FedEx Cup playoffs now. We're at the Northern Trust, which is the worst name in all of golf. It's not the Northern Trust Open. It's not the Northern Trust Championship. It is the Northern Trust. It drives me bonkers. But yeah, we are at the Northern Trust at TPC Boston up in Massachusetts. It's actually like 30 miles from Boston. It's probably close. It's closer to Providence, Rhode Island than Boston for that matter. But hey, we're gonna go with it. TPC Boston this week. Last week, Jimmy Herman got her done at the Wyndham Championship, which sucked for me. Not in DFS, but I did have Billy Horschel at 33-1 to win that thing. But I was lucky enough to bet him at plus 650 for a top five and hammer that home. And looking back at last week's pod and presentation here, we really did well. At least compared to the PGA where we kind of got skunked. The picks and fades were really good. I talked about fading Tommy Fleetwood, fading Ryan Moore, playing Billy Horschel, Siwoo Kim, guys like that. So it was a really good week for the Unplayable Lies PGA pod. It was an okay week for us over at Majors Challenge, our title sponsor here for the Unplayable Lies pod. Those guys over there just have a fantastic product. If you haven't been playing with us in our listener league, it is majourschallenge.com/DFS Army to get into that listeners league. And we're going to run something special coming up here. I'm just working out some details. So stay tuned. If you are not I'll send some stuff out on Twitter if you're not a DFS Army VIP. Otherwise, I'll send it in the Slack chat. But what we're going to be doing over there. And then let's take a look at last week's winner, our first two-time winner over at Majors Challenge. Blake was our winner, TU golfer, former college golfer. We've had him on the pod before to kind of chat about his process, and he really, really crushed. Really impressive. Tournament minus 122. I think he won by like 40 strokes almost at Horschel, Kiz, Webb. Great call on Kiz in this top tier. And if you're playing over on Majors Challenge, I think that's something that you really need to look at, especially in these weaker fields where you're like, oh, and I fall guilty to it too, is that you're like, oh, all these studs, I can fit in, Webb and whoever else. And, for me, last week goes Webb, Brooks, and Horschel. And instead of going with the, maybe a chalkier Brooks play, you went with the Kevin Kisner, who barely got into Group A, but, did well. So, great call there. Got in Bazoon help, Didn't listen to me here, played Ryan Moore, but actually I did too on Majors Challenge. Howell missed the cut. Then he really smashed in this year, obviously played the English and Norlander, but got Henley and Bud Cauley, which was a great call. And, my special play from last week in this pod, that Chris Baker at minus 13 was really what pulled him over the edge. So big shout out to Blake. Excellent win over there this last week. And now if we're going to, hopefully he doesn't take down with the, what we're working towards here for the playoffs. So a great site to play on. One of our title sponsors here. They do such a nice job with just building just a really fun site to play on. That's not, you can play for fun, you can play for money, you can play for whatever you want. But it's really accessible. And I think that's maybe the biggest thing about Majors Challenge is it's accessible. I can play. My wife who follows golf. She's not like a daily fantasy sports player or anything like that, but she could play. My father-in-law who's 70, who loves golf and watches it every weekend, he can play. It's so simple to use. And like I said, it's a great way to run office pools or pools at your clubhouse. It's an easy way to run, Whether it's I got a group of buddies that I play with on there just from home, kind of keep in touch and can send those text messages, every week. And, we're maybe, some of those groups I am playing for a little bit of money, but it's not like you're entering on DraftKings and trying to create a group and keeping some of the sharks out of the group and sending link. Like, it's so much easier than that. And it's just, like I said, a really, really fun format. It's so easy to score. And I see big things for them in the future. So this week we are at the Northern Trust. It is at TPC Boston. So this is the former Dell Technologies Championship and the Deutsche Bank Championship. If you want to go further back from that, first started playing here in 2003, which I just found out today that they used to play at a British Columbia Championship, which I want more events in Canada. And there's some great courses out there by Whistler. It would be fun if the PGA Tour got back to Canada, but that's a story for another day. TPC Boston is a Arnold Palmer design, but after the first couple of years of playing here, they said, hey, we need to make this a little bit more difficult for the pros. And what they did was they brought in Gil Hanse and Brad Faxon. Gil Hanse was actually, now is obviously a very, very well-known architect, but back in the early 2000s was not very well-known, and did nearby Boston Golf Club. And then they brought him in to do this. And this was like really his first real big renovation, and did just a fantastic job. This is one of my favorite courses. And really one of my favorite setups that they play all year. I love that mostly because it reminds me a little bit of home. The tree line fairways, you got the fescue, you got the kind of the swampy areas that you want to stay away from. They have the chocolate drop, bumps in the fairway and in the rough, and it doesn't look like anything. It doesn't look like it's going to be very hard to play off of, but when guys hit it in there, they are dead to rights. It's a course that you can score on, but it's also a course that you can make a big number. It's well bunkered. There's a lot of risk reward, which I love. I love playing this course on. Those of you who are maybe my age or a little older have been, remember the old Tiger Woods games. Well, TPC Boston was one of the courses that you were always able to play on there, and it's a really, really fun setup. Par 71, 73-42, bent grass pretty much everywhere. The bluegrass and the fescue in the rough at 3.5 inches. So there is a very, very big emphasis placed on hitting it in the fairway here, but not only just hitting it in the fairway, you want to hit it on the right side of the fairway. So I think there's something to be said for a little bit of experience at this course, knowing where to hit and where to miss. I think that is important because you will block yourself out from some of these pins based on where you are in the fairway. And what your lie looks like in the fairway is probably more important. And the rough is going to be, it's that Kentucky bluegrass fescue. It's going to be snarly. It's going to be long. They haven't had a ton of rain outside of the hurricane that went through. So I'm imagining that this course is going to play pretty firm. Lots and lots of 175 to 200 yard shots. And that doesn't, at first glance, when you're like, okay, it's 73-42, why is there a lot of 200 yard approach shots? And the reasoning being is that this course is well bunkered. And you are going to be forced to lay up on a lot of these holes. And it's going to leave you some longer approach shots. And there's even some par threes or some par fives that you're going to hit 3-wood or iron off the tee just to put your ball in the right position so that you can maybe take a crack at the green or lay up in the right spot. Like I said, you really got to think here, and you really got to have a game plan for how you're going to play it. It can't just be hit the ball, go find it, hit the ball again. And if you hit it, like I said, I think there's a lot of areas where you're going to hit it too far and be in trouble. So being able to rein it in and find the fairways in the right spots is going to be really, really big this week. There's not a ton of water, but there are like those kind of wasty area type things. And then lots and lots of bunkers. There's actually a bunker on a par 4 that spans the entirety of the hole, right across the fairway. That on your second shot, if you don't carry it, you land in that bunker, you're pretty much dead. So again, risk reward, lots of risk reward everywhere, and 5,200 square foot greens. These are small greens. So, one of the smaller greens that they play on tour. So not only do you have to find yourself in the fairway, now you got to be a good ball striker. And when you look at some of the former winners here, guys like Ricky Fowler, Adam Scott, Rory McIlroy, Bryson DeChambeau, Skinny Bryson, who was a great iron player. These guys that have been successful here have done really, really well. And when you're looking back at results, remember, you can't just look at last year. They have changed the setup for this course. Or for this event, right? So they cut down from 4 playoff events to 3 to try to get away from the NFL. And then COVID came in and messed it all up again, but it's another story. But to try to get away from the NFL, they went from 4 to 3. So they had an extra event in there, and what they did was they took the Northern Trust and the Dell and essentially just combined them. This is the old Dell Championship. The Northern Trust is typically played in the New York City area, so they're on a course rotation. So on even number years, the TPC Boston is going to host this event, and in odd number years, they're going to play at a local course in the New York City area. Last year was at like Liberty National, right? So looking again at, average score is about half a stroke under par. I actually think they've made some changes to this course. They've added some bunkers. They've added some church pew, bumpy areas on the fairways. They've, changed some lips. I think it's going to play a little bit tougher this year. I think, we've seen the winning score here be about 17 under. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw like a 12 or 13. With how good these guys are, I guess I wouldn't be surprised if it went the other way too, or they got really, really good conditions all weekend. Maybe a little bit of rain to soften the course up. We could see it go the other way, but my guess right now is we're going to see a winner around 13, 14, kind of similar to what we saw at the PGA Championship last week. Driving, there is a cut this week. We are at 125, even though it is a FedEx Cup playoff. So there will be a cut next week is when we start the no cuts. Again, there's that driving distance, right? 282. So again, 47th on tour. That's at a longish course. It's telling you that, hey, you're going to have to lay up a lot of places here. Driving accuracy, right in the middle, 65%. The rest of this course is really very, very average in terms of there's no real edges anywhere other than, that driving distance is going to be a little bit shorter, and it brings in some of these shorter guys, but it also, what I also think it does is that it benefits the guys with length because they can hit an iron, and they can find that right spot in the fairway. There'll be guys, there'll be guys like Bryson who are going to hit driver every single hole, and they're go and find it, right? I don't think that's the best way to get around here, but there's going to be guys like a John Ram, maybe Xander Schauffele, who are long enough that they can hit 3-wood, they can hit iron, and really put themselves in good position out here. So I'm excited to kind of see how that plays here this year. Again, lots and lots of fairway strokes, not a lot of rough strokes. We talk about that driving distance and how important it is to put yourself in position in the fairways. We've seen that play out in the stats over the years, and that, hey, you're not taking a lot of full strokes from the rough. Again, well bunkered, lots and lots of sand shots. Small greens, not going to be a lot of putts, right? You're not going to see a ton of 3 putts this week. And that sort of levels the playing field. It makes me a little bit more apt to take maybe guys who aren't very good putters, which you'll see here when we look at my plays, right? Approach strokes, 175 to 200, 6%, greater than average there, right? 1% greater than average on approach strokes, longer than 200. So again, ball striker type course, and you really, really need to find the fairways, but you don't necessarily need to look at guys who have like super high driving accuracy, right? Or hit or gain a lot of fairways because they're going to be able to club down. So some of these guys that, hit a ton of drivers are not going to have to hit a ton of drivers this week and are going to be able to lay back and maybe hit 65, 70% of fairways as opposed to their normal 56%. So it's easy to be like, oh, you got to hit fairways. I'm going to search for who hits the most fairways. It's not necessarily the way you want to attack it this week. Our 4-ball section of the Unplayable Lies PGA pod again, right? I tell you my 4 plays, my 4 fades from each salary range, 10K, 9K, 8K, 7K, and 4 punts, right? So this is just kind of the basis of our pod here. If you want my in-depth, like every single week, I go through it and break down almost everyone that I think is viable for DFS that week. So typically like 40 to 50 guys, I give them star ratings based on my confidence. Each person has a small write-up. Some of them are a little bit longer write-ups, right? So I give that, and then I put in like, who are my core plays? Who are my, high upside GPP plays? Who are my leverage plays? Guys that are going to be low owned. Who are my, my punts? Who are my value plays? And then I give I give a 20 or 15-ish player cash core that I think, hey, these guys are all the guys that I'm looking at in a traditional cash type lineup this week. And then I give them my fades as well. So if you are not a DFS Army VIP, right, that is what I do every week. My man Taco, he provides the exact same thing, and you guys can get access to all of that for one low price, and you can use that code up north for 20% off. And not just that, right? We have NFL coming up. Major League Baseball is in full swing. NBA is in full swing. Soccer, I just saw my boy Sniper just crushed again. Like, the guy's like making more money playing DFS right now than whatever he does for his job on Long Island, right? The guy is crushing. And these are the people who are providing the information for you and providing their pools and breaking it down, and it's all for one low price. There is not a better value on the internet than DFS Army. I firmly believe that. For the price that we charge, it is top notch. And again, now we're working our way up to NFL, right? That's one of obviously golf is my main sport, but last year I had a really successful season in NFL on the coaching side. It was a top 10 ranked handicapper for our NFL picks, and I'm diving into some things, especially with trying to find some edges in contest selection for NFL. I think that, and the same thing is very, very true for PGA. And I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent here, but we see the big number at the top of $1 million or 200K or 50K or whatever. And those aren't always the best structured contests for you to be profitable long term. But neither is really cash for that matter. So I'm a big believer in playing these like 3-mans, these 4-man winner take alls, these head to heads, these really small size contests to provide a base of like, hey, I played these and now I can take some shots at these big GPP contests and not feel like I have to play it safe to mitigate my risk. Because I did that by playing these like 3-mans with sort of standard lineups that are very easily winnable, and I 2.5x my money on. But that's something, again, like if you're not like, that's one thing I love about DFS Army is those are the conversations that we're having on a daily basis inside our Slack chat in our coaching channel, talking about how do we help people be the most profitable that they can. And I really do think that picking players is like 15 to 20% of that, right? The main focus should be bankroll management, contest selection, like all that stuff that is super boring. But hey, you want to be a profitable DFS player? That's what you have to do. Enough of me on my high horse here. My 10K plays and fades. So I really feel like Ram is going to be the forgotten man this week. He is one of my favorite 10K and up plays. It's Monday. That could be like Ram could be Chalk City by Wednesday, right? We know that that's sort of the genesis of DFS as the week goes on. But man, he has just been absolutely crushing it with his ball striking from the start. And I wrote it in my notes here that, anybody up here is a pretty good play. If they're going to be lower owned, like anybody above 10K is an excellent GPP play. I really think you do need to, especially if you're only building 20, 25, even 150 lineups, you need to take some stands. You can only choose 2 or 3, like, so if it's me this week, I'm going to if I'm building 150 lineups, I'm going to say I'm going to play Ram. I'm going to play Ram, I'm going to play Morikawa, and I'm going to play JT, and I'm going to fade the rest. Or I'm going to play Ram and Rory, and I'm going to fade the rest. I really think that that's the sort of decisions that you have to make. You can play all of them if you want, but it's just so much harder to hit the right combinations in GPP if you play all of them, right? And that's what happens when you see guys with like 50, 60 players in their pool, you can't build enough lineups to get all the combinations to win. You might get lucky, but long term, you want to sort of dial down that player pool so that you can get the combinations of the wins. And quit being a pussy, right? I say that all the time. Or quit being, you know what I mean? Like, make a decision, right? So make a decision, stick with a guy, and go for it from there. And my 10K fade, right? I'm making a decision. I am not playing Dustin Johnson this week. If he has another career type round with his putter, I will get beat. And that's okay. I can get beat. I'm fine with that. If Dustin Johnson beats me with his putter, like I said, I will lose money, and that is okay. At this price, I imagine he's going to be fairly high owned up here, especially coming off his PGA championship performance. That 2 weeks since the PGA is a big deal in PGA DFS because people forget. Unless they dive in and look, people are going to look and say, second, the PGA, the guy's playing great. His irons were terrible. His off the tee was awful. He got away with it because the rough wasn't as long as we thought it was going to be, or as penal as we thought it was going to be. So again, if DJ beats me with his putter, I'll I'll get beat. That's fine by me. To be fair, he has crushed at this course over the years. I will give him that. But another 7 strokes gained putting is what it's going to take for him to be in contention this week. And I don't foresee that happening. In the 9K range, no surprise, I am going to play Xander Schauffele. Oh, I forgot to write my stuff in here. I'm going to play Xander. He's an elite ball striker. Strong field events, there's nobody better, in my opinion. Was excellent at the PGA. If he putts a little, he's going to win. And my fade is going to be Patrick Reed. People are going to get enamored with the Patrick Reed results here over the years. He's not a bad play. Like, he's a good player. It's similar to how I felt about English last week, which I still have written in here. But Patrick Reed is, he's going to be super high owned at 9K. And again, with those guys, play him in cash and move on. Adam Scott is my favorite 8K play. He won the first ever event held at this course. He's played really well at the PGA, really putted well, which is maybe, I don't know, a little concerning, but he's a great course fit. He's crushed it over the years. And in these major events, at 8.4K, like, I'll play a ton of Adam Scott. Absolutely. 8K fade again is Tommy Fleetwood. I faded him last week. I am going to continue to fade him until he proves to me that he is fixed. But yeah, Tommy's broken. He's had back-to-back weeks of really, really poor iron play. He had one mediocre week of iron play at the WGC FedEx. And then in the 3M, he was terrible too. So the only reason that he made the cut last week is because he putted out of his gourd. Over his career, that's not been a big strength for him. So I'm assuming we're going to see some regression to the norm here. And the reason that he's a fade is because at his price point, people are going to be forced to consider him now. If Tommy was 9.6 this week, nobody would play him. But at 8.4, now you got to really consider that. So I think that Tommy will see an elevated ownership because of it. And for me, it's going to be a fade. I love the guy. He should have positive regression. Like, long-term form, he should have positive regression with his irons. But right now, in the moment, I'm fading him. As we go to the 7K, my favorite play is my boy Matthew Wolff, who made me a ton of money at the PGA Championship, cruising on Sunday. I had him as our favorite captain play in the new Showdown Captain format, which if you are not playing on Saturdays and Sundays, late round, Showdown, Captain, like my new favorite contests. But man, he's been so strong off the tee. His iron play's been on point lately. If he ever can putt a little bit like we saw at the PGA, he's going to win again. I firmly believe that. So again, I'm more apt to play guys who are poor putters. There's a ton of good plays in the 7K range this week. I really, really like the 7K range. And the 6K is a little weak. So, you're going to find yourself kind of hammering in there, and Wolff is going to be one of my favorite guys. One of those guys that's going to be super popular this week because of his finish last week is going to be Doc Redman. I faded him last week. Didn't pay off. But he's going to be chalk city ownership this week in the 7K range. He's a great ball striker. Like, there's no denying that, but his putting is just so far over his baseline that it's going to come back to earth. And if it does, he's going to struggle to make cuts. I really do believe that. So Docky Boy is my fade in this range. My below 7K punts, these crushed last week. Chris Baker, right in here. Top 10 finish, made some guys some money. Denny McCarthy was in here last week, right? So Christopher Ventura, who went nutso on Saturday, really had a good week. Obviously, Bryce Garnett missed the cut, who I think he's viable again this week at 0 ownership. So some of my favorite 7K punts or below 7K punts this week are Keegan Bradley, who's really done nothing, but I have a hard time not playing Keegs in the Northeast, right? It's 100% a thing. He's made the cut here every time it's been played at TPC Boston. Again, he hasn't done much in this event, but given that narrative of we're going to the Northeast, we're in Boston, which is his town, right? Like, I got to get some Keegan this week. 6,600, I can fit him in GPP. I'm going right back to Denny McCarthy. Outside of Sunday, he really putted terrible last week. If he would have had his absolute normal putter all week combined with his ball striking that he showed last week, he would have won by 5. Like, I have no doubt about that. Love Denny at 6,700. If he can continue to strike the ball like he is going to contend in a very strong field event very soon. What you need to remember about Denny McCarthy is that he was an elite amateur, played on the Walker Cups, played on, all that big time USAM, like big time stuff, teammates with Jordan Spieth and Justin Thomas. And like, obviously he hasn't ascended to that level yet, but he's been in the pressure cooker before as a young kid, and now has had to grind his way up here. So I think Denny's an excellent play. Like, he's a guy that I want to buy stock in, because I think that by this time next year, we're going to be talking about Denny McCarthy as the top 50 player in the world. I really believe that. If he can ball strike like this, he is going to be elite. Other guys, Lanto, he's so far up there in the FedEx Cup standings because he played so well. He's so good tee to green. He plays in these tough field events like very well. If his putter heats up, I think he's definitely going to look at a top 25 this week. And then Brendan Steele. This guy's just playing great golf. He's priced right, 6,800. I think he's a good cash play. Always a strong approach player, but he's been putting well recently. So definitely somebody that I am going to be invested in. So Keegs, Denny, Lanto, Brendan. To review, right, my fades this week are Doc Redman. I'm going to play Matt Wolf in the 7K range. I'm going to play Scott and fade Fleetwood. Play Shoffley, fade Reed, and play Ram and fade DJ. All right, let's head over to majorschallenge.com and look at our lineups for this week. See what it's looking like over there. Again, we have a much stronger field obviously this week with the Majors Challenge. So let's go in and build some lineups. Again, don't forget to play obviously majorschallenge.com/DFS Army. If you want to know how to build your own contest, there's everything is in there that you need to know. But don't forget to play this 250K perfect team challenge, right? Pick a perfect team, you win $250,000. Obviously, incredibly hard to build a perfect team, but you win this contest, you get a $25 Amazon gift card. I can find out a lot of things that I'd like to do for $25 on Amazon, right? So Northern Trust, DFS Army, Unplayable Lies. You can start your own Majors golf pool. Again, click there to learn how. All right, let's take a look at Group A. Again, we go Group A is the top 10% in official world golf rankings. Group B is top 20. Or is the next 20. Group C is the next 30. And Group D is the next 40. You need to pick 3 from Group A and an alternate. All right, let's go down. So I talked about how I really like Ram this week, right? And I really like Xander. Now, the rest of this, I think I'm going to go with, like TU Golfer, like Mr. Turner there did. I'm going to pick somebody that is obviously not in the top tier of studs, but makes me a little bit different. So I just think that Scott's going to play well this week. I really do. I think that he's going to be in for a top 20 finish, probably better. And I'm gonna get a little funky here on my Majors Challenge lineup and put Adam Scott in there. Group B. Another guy that I really like this week, that I think is a great course fist that burned everybody at the PGA is Matt Fitzpatrick. I think this is a great event for him. I think in DFS, really like Cooch at his price tag. He makes a ton of sense. Love Matthew Wolf. I need one more starter here. I think I'm going to go with, could ride the hot hand with Billy. Justin Rose, T grade. I think I'm gonna run. I think he's due, man. I'm gonna play Tony. I'm gonna play Tony the Tiger. Group 3, Benny on Keegs. I like Keegs, right? But in this group, it's gonna be tough to play him. Mackenzie Hughes, Nate Lashley, Adam Long, Killa, Keith Mitchell, Sabs. I think you can go with Scheffler. I really like Steele. I think he makes it. Man, this is not. Man, this is going to be your tough decision of the week. I think that Joel Damon is a guy that I want to get exposure to. I love the bucket hat here. People are going to be all over Cam Champ. No, thank you. Tom Lewis is a strong play. Mitchell, Neiman, Noren playing well. Poulter. I'm going to get on some Scheffler here, and then I'm going to get on Steele. Do I still need to pick one more? Oh, man, this is where you're to win or lose this week. Absolutely. I could go Lanto. Like Poulter. Streel's been playing well. Brendan Todd. I tell you what, I'll play him. I'll play Spieth here. Yeah. Shot 62 here before. I'll play Spieth, put Benny on in as my alternate. All right. Usually there's somebody that jumps out and grabs me here. in this range, and it's probably going to be Harris English again this week. Like, he's just playing such good golf. He's so far back in the official world golf rankings. He really should be in this sort of arguably in Group B, but he really should be in Group C. And then the other guy I'm going to play in this range is going to be, I just saw him, Denny McCarthy. I really think that he's a great man. There's some good. Again, I think I said this last week that Group D I said Group C will outscore Group B, and I really think that Group D is going to outscore Group C this week. Again, like, how easy was this? How easy was it to build a lineup for this? Boom, save lineup. I'm in. There's even pictures, right? If you want to, and you can click on every guy and find out how they've done in the past, right? So if I go to edit my team here, edit my lineup, you can click on Corey Connors and say, okay, what's he done the last, 2 straight missed cuts? Eesh, I don't know if I want to do that. He's got 9 and 20 top 25s on the year, though. What's Matthew Wolf done? Right? Ooh, T4, T49, T12, T22. Ooh, right? Playing some pretty good golf, Wolfie. 8 top 25s, 2 top 10s, a second. Got your driving. Hey, he hits 58% of the driving accuracy, 66% of greens and reg. Made $2 million on the year. Nice little year for the boy. What's Harris English made this year? He's got to have made that, hasn't he? Yeah, 2.29. He's had a great year. What's Denny made? This is my new favorite thing. I just want to see what guys have made on the year. How much has a guy like Adam Scott made? Because he hasn't played at all. Oh, what? How? Oh, he won the Genesis. I forgot. Yeah. So again, super fun to dive in here, and you can use this as your research station too. Dive in. It's got everything you need. So again, that's going to be my lineup on Majors Challenge. You can join me at www.majorschallenge.com/DFS Army if you want to get in on our weekly listener league. If you want access to all of our cheat sheets, our optimizer, our ownership projections, and our showdown, we have been at, my 4-day of this year has been, since the restart has been pretty mediocre, but we have been absolutely smashing showdown. So get involved in there. We got tiers, we got everything you need, and a great community of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people talking about golf every single day, talking lineup strategies, things like that, and it's all for one price. $49.99. Use that code up north. It's 20% off that. I'm a gym teacher. I'm not gonna do the math on that, right? But it is such a good deal. You get all the sports for one low monthly price. Get involved. www.dfsarmy.com. Check us out. I guarantee you that you will not regret it. All right, boys and girls, have a great day, and we'll check you back in our coaching channels later this week for all of our VFPs. Peace.